friends, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin, and if this is your first time here, welcome to Looked and Busy. Today's video is going to be a reading vlog where I'm going to be reading some 2024 fantasy romantasy releases. So I have 4 that are on my physical TBR right now and 1 that is coming out in like 2 weeks that I'm really excited for. So let's quickly talk about the books that I'm hoping to read. I used to do new release content in 2023 and I really enjoyed that, and so now that I'm really in my fantasy romance era, I was like, why not put these 2 things together? So first up we have Fate and Furies by Helen Shore, which is the 3rd book in the Legends of Thesmar series. This begins with Blood and Steel. I've read the first 2 books in the series, Blood and Steel and Vows and Ruins, and I'm excited to get into this one. I'll tell you more about each of these books as I'm actually reading them. Next up we have The Veiled Kingdom by Holly Renee. I picked this up solely on the recommendation of Tori from Tori Between Pages. She hauled this one in like a unboxing and I was like, I need that. So I really don't know that much about it. I do know there's enemies to lovers, but I'm very much looking forward to reading this one. This is the first book in a new series. I'm not sure how many books there will be in this series, but I'm looking forward to checking it out. We have the fantasy romance that is taking the streets by storm, and that is Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli. This is a book with a witch and a witch hunter that fall in love. This one is YA, so I'm looking forward to seeing, you know, how the YA girlies do fantasy romance, because I can't say that I read much, if any, YA fantasy romance. I feel like most like indie Kindle Unlimited fantasy romance books are new adult, if not adult. So excited to see what that one has to offer. And then we have Lore of the Wilds by Annalise Sobrano. So all of these are 2024 releases. Like I said, this one was originally going to be self-pub and then I got picked up, so it's been on my TBR probably the longest of all of these. And this one is a book where we follow a human girl who gets entangled with the fae, and she is like in this enchanted library, and this has black fae. So I'm really looking forward to this one. And the last one is a sequel to one of my favorite fantasy romances that I read last year, and so I'm going to be reading the sequel to The Crown of Oaths and Curses. And the book that's coming out later on this month is The Throne of Honor and Blood, I believe is what it's called. So I'm very much excited and looking forward to reading these fantasy romance books. Make a prediction down in the comments. Which of these books do you think will be my favorite? 2 of these are in series that have already started and 3 are new. So I'm going to predict that The Throne of Honor and Blood is going to be my favorite just based on what I know. So make your cast your votes, make your predictions down in the comments, and let's get to the reading. Good morning, friends. I wanted to update you because accidentally I'm like 250 pages into this. I started this last night before I went to bed, and now I'm 250 pages in, so I have like 100 pages left. So I wanted to give you, it's not quite my initial thoughts, but my thoughts at the 70% mark. So this is a fantasy romance, and like we're following our 2 main characters. Nira is what she goes by, but that's not her real name. Nira and Dacre. I think but I call him Dacre because whatever, there is a pronunciation guide and it says Dacre. And so Nira is the daughter of the king, and in this world everyone is fae. There's absolutely nothing about them that says that they're fae. Like if it hadn't been said on the page like twice and that's it, in 250 pages, they're fake, I would have thought that these are just humans. But they do, a lot of people do have these like magical abilities, but Nira is the daughter of the king and she does not have any abilities, and that's an issue for her and an issue for her father. And so she was kind of tortured by her father to like bring her magic out. And a year ago there was a raid on the palace by this rebellion, and she used it as an opportunity to escape. And since then she's been living on the streets, but now she has been not infiltrating, but she has kind of gotten in with the rebellion, and they are trying to find the lost princess because they think that she could be a bargaining chip against the king. Little do they know that they already have her, and she is having a little bit of a romance with the son of the leader of the rebellion. His name is Dacre, whatever. And they have a lot of tension, a lot of angst, and like this is a very quick and easy read. It's very like simply written, and I don't mean it as an insult, but it's just very easy to read. The world building is pretty non-existent, I would say. The story is very like insular and very small, which isn't a problem for me. I'm just, you know, making an observation. I will say the best thing about this book is like the tension and the like really is the tension between Decker and Nira. I really like that. I feel like I would like a little bit more of Decker's POV, but this is definitely a story where it's definitely like a setup, but like you don't get much. There's not much going on. We don't really know much about the world. We don't really know much about the political situation. All we just know is that the rebels are rebelling against the king, who is a tyrant, and he requires this like tithe. I don't know how many times it happens, maybe once a year, I'm not sure, but you have to give of your magic to the king, and he's like hoarding this magic for reasons that we don't know. I'm liking this. I'm about to go get breakfast. If you're wondering, my background's a bit different. I'm on vacation. I'm in Tulum, Mexico. So I wanted to bring at least one book for this vlog on my trip so that I could read it and give you guys a little bit of a different scene. I'm about to go get breakfast and I'm going to get ready to go to the beach. So I'll probably finish this on the beach. And then I'll take another book with me. I don't know if it'll be for this vlog or my other vlog, but that's what's going on. So I'm about to head out and then I will talk to you guys when I'm done. Hello friends. So while I was editing, I realized that I did not give you my final thoughts on the Veiled Kingdom, and at this point I finished this a minute ago, but I did want to try to wrap this up. So ultimately I really did enjoy this. It's not a new favorite, but it was really fun. It was really fun and it was pretty steamy, which isn't something that I knew going into it, but I since have learned that that's like pretty typical of Holly Renee. And I thought that it was interesting, and I really liked how well the spice was done. Like honestly, I would give the spice 10 out of 10. It didn't come in too early into the store. I feel like around like 60 to 70% is when we first started getting the first like spicier scenes, and they weren't like full throttle, but I really appreciated the direction they were going in. And then it leaves off on quite the cliffhanger, and so our main girl, we're really, the truth about her identity kind of comes out at the end, and I'm interested to see like where the next book picks up and how that impacts her standing in like the rebel community, because is that going to be widely known or what? But I do really like Decker as a main character, and I think that the magic in this world is really interesting. But now, after having read like 2 other books from Holly Renee, it's very much like this is romantasy. This is primarily just a romance that takes place in a fantasy world. There isn't as strong of a fantasy plot. This one does have more of a fantasy plot than her other series that I've started reading, but I wouldn't say that this is like, I wouldn't say that this is for the epic fantasy girls. I wouldn't say if you really want a strong central plot, if you like in your fantasy romance, or if you want a book that has a really detailed, really intricate magic, like this isn't the book for that. And I mean, it is rather short. It is longer than the other 2 books of hers that I've read, but just in general, like that's not what this is for. This is just it's primarily like a spicy fantasy romance with tension. It takes place, is a spicy romance that takes place in a fantasy world. That's how I would like describe this one, which I enjoy, and it was a very fun reading experience. So I started my next book for this vlog, and that is Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli. I also want to say this vlog is taking a lot longer to come out than I initially intended, because Throne of Honor and Blood, which was originally Throne of Blood and Honor, has actually been delayed a month. So we're like a week out from the release date now, so I like just put the vlog on hold because that was like the star book that I wanted to read in this vlog, so that's why it's taken as long as it has. But I started reading this last night and I am now 50% of the way through. So Heartless Hunter, this is the first book in a YA fantasy duology, and this is romantasy, and it does have a plot. It's not very romance heavy, and it's not super fantasy heavy either. I would honestly probably say this is one that's closest to just being like YA fantasy. So we're following our main character, Rune, who is the Crimson Moth. She is a young heiress, but in this world a few years ago there was this rebellion, this revolution. The witch queens were killed, and since then witches have been purged from their society. And in an effort to save herself, Rune turned in her she turned in her grandmother, and because she did that, she is seen as like a sympathizer to their cause, and she was able to keep like her grandmother's holdings. But since then, Rune has a secret identity as the Crimson Moth, where she goes through and tries to save witches and takes them to different places so that they can live their lives out elsewhere without being killed. But her ruse is getting really dangerous because in an effort to get more information about this particular witch who her grandmother told her to find, she has to get close to the commander of the the royal guard, not the royal guard, but yeah, the palace guard, and he is like the person who is responsible for killing the most witches, and he's like the person who let the people into the palace and killed the witch queens. And so we're following their dynamic as they both are getting close to one another for ulterior motives, because he believes that she could be the Crimson Moth, even though there isn't enough evidence to support that, and he is going through these various things to try to figure out who she is. She is also best friends with his younger brother, and he thinks that his younger brother is in love with her, and so that's like an extra element in their relationship. I think the thing that I'm struggling with the most is like the writing of this just isn't very detailed. It is very surface level, and it's like the chapters are short and the sentences feel kind of choppy. That's like the experience. I can never really get settled into it. I like Rune and Gideon well enough, but neither of them are my favorite. I actually probably think I like Alex and Verity the most, and they're like Rune's like sidekicks, and Alex is Gideon's younger brother. I think that there's a world here that is very interesting and could be more interesting if we spent a lot of time, more time in it and developing it. Rune as a character, for her to be a vigilante, she's very like dumb and very impulsive, and she just doesn't do a lot of critical thinking, which is interesting to me because I'm like, how have you survived this long not being very intelligent? So like the romance has started to pick up in the last like 40 or 50 pages, so I'm assuming that it's going to be a larger element in the second half of the story. But right now I'm not loving it, and I'm really not seeing like the hype with it. It's very mediocre thus far. So here's the hoping that the second half is better and that I end up liking it more. But right now, you know, hello. I know that this angle is very unhinged, but I have a small apartment. We gotta do what we gotta do. Okay, I just finished Heartless Hunter. It was very mid. It was very fine. There was one thing that I guess surprised me, but there were hints to it, and right before it was revealed I was like, 1 + 1 gotta be 2, right? It's only a duology and I didn't hate it, so I'll probably get the second book from the library and read it when it comes out. Like, it wasn't awful, but it's not one that I would particularly recommend, and I really don't understand why all the girls are going crazy about it. You could say it ends on a cliffhanger, and there were some things at the end that were a bit emotionally, or supposed to be emotionally impactful, but because I didn't really feel any type of connection to these characters, to the story, it really didn't do anything to me. I was just like, oh, this is the thing that happened. I feel like this could have been a lot better if it had been fleshed out a little bit more. Like if there was just a little bit more depth to our main character Rune, and because like she really doesn't have her own identity. Like she has this character of herself that she pretends to be this like vapid socialite, but that's not her. And then she has this like vigilanteism of the Crimson Moth, and the thing is, we don't actually see her save any witches. Like in the 400 pages, we don't actually see her save a single witch. We just hear about the witches she's saved previously. So we never see her actually doing the vigilanteism. We see her like fall into this very easy trap very early on, and then nothing else. Like she's gathering information, just flirting with guys and hoping they tell her something useful. So her vigilante like identity isn't very fleshed out, and we don't see that much of it. We just hear about it, but like we have these two different sides of her that neither of them are really her. And I think part of the problem is Rune isn't very fleshed out, because Rune doesn't really know who she is, or the author really doesn't know who she wants Rune to be, and so it's hard to connect with that. And then Gideon is very flat and very one-dimensional. He hates witches, and like that's it. Like he lives a life that he's like rather poor, but he has this really high position in this new order, and the wealth that he had, he gave it all to his brother, which fine, that tracks for the reasons why he gave the house to his brother, but like the other things don't really make sense. And it's funny because he is like portrayed as being very like uncultured or whatever, but his younger brother is very cultured, and so it's like it has to be a choice because they come from the same place, and you know they have the same situation. So it's just he's just choosing to be a brute or whatever, and it's just the character work, like I said, was just not very well fleshed out. And I think that, you know, another draft maybe, and like putting some real development into these characters would have been beneficial, because everything was just very surface level, and I don't think it would have taken that much more. This book is 406 pages, and honestly the font is kind of big. I think even another like 80 pages, making it get into like close to 500, or just like spending a little bit more time developing these characters. Like the world, the setting isn't very well fleshed out. The characters aren't really very well fleshed out. The magic, it's relatively simple. It's not that much to it, and so it's just everything about it is just very surface level. That's, you know, my thinking having finished it. So yeah, I don't know what I want to read next, but we still have, today's Wednesday, so we still have Thursday, Friday, Saturday until Throne of Honor and Blood comes out, and then Bridgerton comes out tomorrow. Very excited about that. So maybe I'll read the Bridgerton book from my other vlog. I don't know, but we only have one book left for this video, so let's hope that one's a banger. Hello friends. So I figured that I wanted to get some steps in, and I really wasn't in an audiobook mood, so I would just bring my book with me and work on the treadmill. I'm in like one of the fitness rooms in my apartment, so it wasn't like too difficult. So I brought Lore of the Wilds with me. Also, I'm sorry if there's an echo. And I was like, oh, you know, I'll just like read while I'm walking, because I'm not like walking particularly fast. I just want to get some steps in, move my body a little bit, you know, whatever. Especially because I'm a lot less active now because I'm not working than I was before. So I'm reading this, and I want to say that I was really anticipating this book prior to its release. Like originally it was going to be indie published, and I was following that release, and then it got picked up by a publisher and the release date was delayed, and so I picked up a copy, and then I later found out that it was going to be the fairyloot book, the first like fairyloot romantasy book. So I, you know, signed up. I was happy to have it, and unfortunately I've read the first 92 pages, the first 8 chapters, and I'm gonna have to put this down because it is just not very good. And going into this, I knew that there were so many like negative reviews. It has a relatively low rating on Goodreads. I want to say it has like a 3.6, maybe 3.8, and I feel like the girls aren't particularly difficult to please when it comes to like romantasy. And I really wanted to like this because I wanted to love a story, a fantasy romance that had Black characters. And you know, followed a young Black girl, because I feel like romantasy or fantasy romance as a genre really is lacking in diversity. So I was so excited to read this. But the problem I'm having with this is mainly in A, the characterization, and B, the writing. So characterization, we're following our main character, Lore, who is a young human girl, and she lives in this like Yeah, it has a 3.4 on Goodreads actually. She lives in this village that is surrounded by this magical forest, and they are not allowed to leave because in the forest, in the lands beyond, there are elven people, and their people believe that something happened and there was like a meteor event or something, and their people came through an asteroid or something like that into this land, and that one day they'll get to go back to their homeland. And so they're kind of subjugated by the Fae and treated poorly. And at the beginning of the story, it's like earthquake happens that really destroys a lot of the homes and things in their town. And people from the Fae court, they come and they ask for Laura, or like the owner of the apothecary, to come with them. And so Laura goes with them, and she ends up striking a deal with this Fae lord that says that because she can speak the Fae language and she's human, she is in a unique position that she can enter into this library that the Fae haven't been able to enter into for 1,000 years because it's been cursed that no Fae can enter it, and most people don't know the Fae language, like humans don't know the Fae language. So she makes a deal. She's like, I will do this if you help the people in my village rebuild after this earthquake and you pay me whatever. Now, first problem is she agrees to this and she immediately gets started working, like no payment up front, no guarantee, no nothing, which is strange. And also I think Laura, prior to the start of the story, she tried to like escape her village or leave her village, and there's this like magical something around that keeps people inside, as well as there are like Fae guards that will attack you, and she like has a scar from that. And while she is working in the castle, she makes friends with this like one Fae guy who has like antlers, and he is like escorting her places and befriending her. Is this guy right here, and they are, I guess, forming a relationship, whatever, and I can tell that he is one of the love interests. But the writing is just very, like, it's just very basic, it's very simple, and it's not very engaging. Like, Laura is supposed to be 18, but she reads like she's 12 years old. And sure, it may be because she's sheltered and, you know, hasn't seen much of the world, I don't know, but it's just written like, this is supposed to be an adult book, and at least at this point, it very much reads like very young YA. It reads like very young YA. And you know, sure, I don't know if there are spicy scenes and stuff later because I haven't gotten to it, and I won't get into it because I just found myself dreading every chapter. Like every time I would read a couple pages, I would put my phone down, I would put my book down, I would get on my phone, I would be doing everything else. And the reviews that I've seen and what I know about the book don't lead me to believe that it's gonna improve. Like I was like, let me read some reviews and see, like maybe people are like, oh, you know, the first 150 pages or something like that is slow, but after that it really picks up. And given the 3.4 rating, most people, even the people that are liking this, are only giving it like middling reviews. So I decided that I just will not be finishing this. I'm going to be unhauling both copies that I have of this book, but if anybody wants them, and I'm just going to be moving on. I definitely won't be continuing on with the series. I don't know that I would revisit this author. Maybe in a couple, when this series is done and she is grown as an author, I may, if I hear really great reviews, but the writing just left a lot to be desired. So yeah, that is Lord of the Wild. Hello friends. So I am here to talk to you about Fate and Furies by Helen Shore. So this is the third book in the series, the third book in the Legends of Desmar series. The first book is Blood and Steel. And I went into this one pretty apprehensive because I really enjoyed Blood and Steel. It was like a 3-star, but it was a really high 3-star in my mind. And then Vows and Ruin was a really big disappointment for me. So I was nervous going into this third book. And after reading the third book, I can definitely say that it is a lot better. It's probably the best book in the series, I think, so far. So in this one, we pick up with Thea and Wilder, and this one takes place a year after the events of book 2. And book 2 ends on a pretty surprising cliffhanger that really has a big shift in the dynamic between our two love interests. So we're following Thea and her two best friends as they are going on this quest. And one thing that I really like about these side characters and Thea's relationship with them is like the banter and like the camaraderie. But I do feel like even though these characters were present for the majority of the time of the book, I feel like they don't get much like page time. It's like they're not really saying much or doing much. It's just like there and like assisting, but not in a way where I feel like in book 1 we really saw a lot. I don't know, my hair's in my eye. We saw a lot more of them and they were like more active participants in the story. Now, the romance here, if you've read like fantasy romance series that take place over multiple books, you know that sometimes you might take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back in various, you know, parts of the series. And this is one where we had taken like a big step back in their relationship. And at the beginning, I just wasn't feeling it. I got like 50 pages in and I was like, I don't really like the direction that this is going in, because there's this fate that's hanging over Thea's head, and it feels strange to like take away a year of that time when she has like a countdown clock for things that have to happen at a certain time. Well, in the end, that issue was resolved and we see why that happened, and I do think it ended up being the better choice to have that year happen off page and just like have flashbacks and like recall some of the events that happened. So we're following Thea and her 2 friends, Kip and I want to say Cal or something like that. Yeah, it was Kip and Cal. And they are on this quest that they've been given by the guild, and at this point Thea is a war sword in all but name. She's just waiting on like the great right to happen, and she's constantly training and getting better and like honing her skills as to be like one of the best blade masters in this world. And there is this looming threat of these people that are coming in through the veil and these creatures, and the what this means for the larger scale, because there's this prophecy in the world that this woman will have a blade in one hand and will darkness in the other, and this darkness is also coming into play with these like rips in the veil. Obviously I don't want to say too much because it's the 3rd book in the series, but I really appreciated how taking this step back ended up really strengthening the relationship between Thea and Wilder, and watching them like come back together in a way that's not just lust filled but like really purposeful and really intent, like it had a lot of intent behind it, and seeing them like choose one another based on who they are. And we find out more about the reasons why Wilder has made certain decisions, and how even when he wasn't present on the page, he was really contributing to Thea's success. So I really enjoyed that, and there were just some scenes with them that I really enjoyed. But the way that this ended, honestly, I gotta give hats off to Helen Shore. But also I want to say I have not read Slaying the Shadow Prince. That's a standalone novel that came out between books 1 and 2, and like honestly you're gonna have a hard time convincing me to read a standalone book in like that's connected to a series that follows different characters. But after the ending events of this book, I definitely want to go and read Slaying the Shadow Prince before the book comes out. I want to say the finale in the series, Storm and Shadows or something to that effect, comes out in June. So I definitely want to read the standalone beforehand. So the way that this ends, like we're once again left in this like uncertain place with Thea and Wilder, and Thea has really just accomplished so much in this book, and she's grown into herself so much, and so much so from like a girl who is playing with the blade and like fighting in the forest by herself to hone her skills, to being Death's shadow or the Shadow Maiden, something like that. Her name is like a play on Wilder's name, and just watching what she goes through at the end of this book and the strength that it took for her to accomplish what she accomplished, I was very impressed by her. And the way that this ends, I know book 4 is going to be very explosive. It's going to be very badass, so I'm excited to get to it. So it was a book that like I really just didn't have much to say while I was reading it, and honestly if it wasn't like a part of the Strict TV, I probably would not have vlogged it. I guess I didn't vlog, I'm just giving you my final review. But this is a series that I just have a lot of mixed feelings about. Like I really enjoy what's happening. I like the plot, I like the characters, but in some ways I found the execution lacking. And so I guess my final opinion on the series is really gonna come down to what the finale does, and if I think if it is successful in like the story that wanted to be told. So I am gonna go back inside. I've been like sitting outside on the terrace doing some reading, and I will talk to you guys when I have read my next book. Hello friends. So I'm coming bearing not so great news. In the intro, I talked about the 5 books that I was going to be reading, and the one that I was the most excited about and one of my most anticipated releases was The Throne of Honor and Blood by J. Bree. But since filming that intro and now, so much has happened, and I want to catch you up on it if you haven't been around. So let's go back to April 2024 when the book was about a week out from release, and there was no promo. There was no promo on J. Bree's Instagram. No one had arts. No one was talking about it. The streets were really quiet. And this is the week I was in Mexico. And I was thinking, I was so excited because it was going to come out on Friday. I was going to be leaving on Friday. I was going to be reading it while I was traveling. Well, we get to like 3 days, maybe the 16th. And I go on Amazon and I look at the book and the release date says May 19th now. And I'm like, is that a glitch, Amazon? Because Jay ain't said nothing. So I go to J. Bree's Instagram, no announcement, no update. I talked to some of my friends that are also anticipating the release of the book. Nobody knows anything. Cool. So everybody's talking about how like everybody is seeing the same thing on Amazon, that it's now saying May 19th. And I also know that at this time, J. Bree was having a release party at a bookstore in Florida. And people had flown in. She was obviously going to be flying in. And there was this party that was happening. So we're like, well, clearly if the release party is still happening, like there must be the book. It's just a glitch on Amazon or like an error. Well, people are asking and calling the bookstore trying to find out because, people had made arrangements, bought, traveled to Florida, bought, hotel rooms, all these other things to go to this event. And they were like, this is all communication that was happening with that bookstore, and some of this was happening in like J. Bree's private reader group. And people were saying that the bookstore was like, we don't know what's going on, but we were told the day before by Team J. Bree that the release of The Throne of Honor and Blood hasn't put on hold, but it's been put on pause. And all this is happening like the night before the day of the release. They're like, we're still going to be having the event, Jay is still coming or something like that. And so all this, while this is happening on J. Bree's Instagram, where she has 40,000 followers, on her website, none of this information is out. Well, the day comes that the book is supposed to come out. It's April 19th, and no book is released, and J. Bree has not said anything yet. So then that day on her Instagram, she posts some art. Also, let me rewind. 3 weeks prior to the release, the original title was The Throne of Blood and Honor. Well, I guess some readers brought it to her attention that the term blood and honor has connections to like the Nazi party and things like that. And so J. Bree makes a statement on her page, and she says, updated title, The Throne of Honor and Blood has had a name change. When naming this book, I did not realize that the term blood and honor had negative connotations related to idealism that I absolutely do not support. In light of this being brought to our attention, the new name for the second book in the Mortal Fate series is now The Throne of Honor and Blood. And honestly, I really don't think just swapping the words around really does enough to address the issue if you're going to change it to begin with. But that's neither here nor there, so we're moving on. She says less than a month to release date. Now this was posted on March 22nd, so just under a month before the release. So between that March 9th 22nd post and April 19th, there was nothing posted on J. Bree's Instagram. Okay, here we are, April 19th, the day of the release. She posts this art and she says, as many of you know, today was the release date for The Throne of Honor and Blood. With the title change due to the negative connotations associated with the initial title, we made the decision to push back the release to do a very thorough sensitivity edit. First problem, if you made the decision to push the release back for a sensitivity edit, you knew that you had done that before April 19th. You knew that you had done that most likely when you decided to change the title. So why not announce that in March? Why still go forward with a release party, an international release party, because J. Bree is an Australian author, having people fly in and do all these things and like not communicate with your readers, and your readers find out that the book has been delayed from Amazon? Okay, so the unprofessionalism, this is where we're starting with the unprofessionalism. Lo and behold, and little did I know, I found out that this is much more a pattern for Team J. Bree, but we'll get to that. So she says, I hate disappointing my readers, and I'm truly sorry the date change was announced through Amazon first. I apologize for disrupting anyone's plans. She says, I'm an Australian author and currently in the US with my family, so it has been hectic. Sure. But it takes 5 seconds to do an Instagram post. You also have an assistant and a business manager. Like, they've reiterated multiple times. They're a team of 3. One person in that team of 3 in the 4 weeks between the update of like the title and the day they're supposed to be released could have made a statement. Also, at least on Amazon, at least 3 to 4 days before it's released, the date was changed on Amazon. So in those 4 days when your readers were asking in the Facebook group, on your Instagram, all that, you had more than enough time in between those that someone on that team could have made some type of statement. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It's just like this is an Instagram post. It wouldn't have taken that long. So then it says the new date will be May 19th, 1 month away. So expect tons of graphics and artworks coming soon. This is April 19th, okay? And the reason the date was pushed to May 19th is because when you do ebook pre-orders on Amazon, you can move the date back 30 days without losing your pre-orders. But if you go beyond 30 days, you will lose your pre-order. Okay, that's important to note for later. So this is April 19th. We get to May 16th. Still no promo for the book, no graphics. Remember the tons of art and graphics that were mentioned? Those haven't come out. No one has gotten arcs, and the streets are questioning, like, what's going on? Why haven't we seen anything? Why haven't we heard anything? Okay, so on May 16th, they post an announcement. They post a screenshot that says the pre-order for your book has been canceled because no manuscript was provided by the submission deadline. We have notified customers of the cancellation. If you don't upload your file on time, we will cancel the pre-order and you won't be able to set up a pre-order for any ebook for 1 year. So remember, the date was moved 1 month to preserve pre-orders, but on May 16th, they hadn't met the deadline to upload the book, so the pre-orders were lost anyway. All right, let's start there. Mind you, at this time, there still hadn't been any promo. Art still hadn't gone out, which leads readers to believe, myself included, the book was not done. Okay? So in the comments, they say, we're absolutely heartbroken. After uploading the file for The Throne of Honor and Blood to Amazon, we received this email from KDP saying that they canceled the pre-order. After all of the hard work that went into editing while we traveled to the US for signings, this is devastating news. We are in contact with Amazon, however, the issue is yet to be resolved, which has resulted in this being a live release. We expect everyone who placed the pre-order will soon be receiving an email from Amazon if they haven't already. While this feels like the worst case, May 19th is still the release date. So, first up, I call bullshit. I do not think the manuscript was uploaded in time. It's very much more likely that they didn't upload it in time versus they uploaded it in time and there just happened to be a glitch in Amazon where they canceled like 3,000 pre-orders. Okay, so let's start there. And events later do confirm that the book was not uploaded in time. Because let's say that the book was uploaded in time. Why is it that you still haven't posted any promo, any quotes, any graphics, anything leading up to the book being released? Especially if you scroll through JB's Instagram, I'll post some screenshots on the screen where you see what her Instagram looked like ahead of her last 3 releases. Okay, important to note about those 3 releases, those 3 releases were also all delayed multiple times with very little communication to the readers. Okay, let's keep going. So we get to May 19th, the book isn't out. So it's like midnight. I stayed up till midnight, like, because if you pre-order books on Amazon before, usually at midnight in your time zone, the books go live. Like they're ready. No book. And so I'm like, okay, maybe it's, they didn't say a time zone. So I'm like, maybe, at PST 3 a.m. it'll be live. I was still up 3 a.m. Didn't go live. Okay. In that time, on the next day, J. Bree posted one quote that says, "The next male to touch my fate blessed mate dies. By the fate's command, I won't hesitate. Back off." Boom. First quote that we've seen, first promo for the book at all. Okay. Then May 19th comes and goes. The book isn't out. Team J. Bree has not made a statement. There have been people in the private reader group asking questions and things like that, and those comments have been getting deleted by Laura and whoever else. Like, there's a person assistant and there's a business manager, and the only information that is going out is in the private reader group, which really doesn't make sense because there are 17,000 readers in that group, and then there are 40,000 followers on Instagram, and she has a whole website. So my thinking is, like, even if you did make an announcement in the group, why wouldn't you can literally just screenshot the announcement and post it on your Instagram. Like, it's not that much. But the vast majority of your readers, as you're very well aware, are not in the private reader group. So, and even then, it wasn't Jay Bree posting. It was like her business manager, her assistant, whatever. And they were very like snide comments and things like that. I won't even get into those. I'm just sticking to this timeline, okay? So May 19th is Sunday, no book. We go to Monday, like, okay, maybe it's overnight, no book. Now, at this point, I personally have never experienced a live release before, so I didn't know what this meant. So on Monday evening, which is Tuesday morning in Australia, Team Jay Bree posts an announcement on their Instagram, and it says update from Team Jay Bree. The only update we have at this time is that we're waiting for the Throne of Honor and Blood to go live on Amazon. And I'm like, it took y'all a day and a half to post this. Like, when the book wasn't live on Sunday, I feel like you should have made an announcement then. Like, you were very aware that the book wasn't live. Like, why wouldn't you say anything? Because you said that it was live release. You reiterated multiple times it's gonna come out on Sunday. This is still the date. Mind you, the only reason this was the date was because that was the last day to keep the pre-orders, but they didn't do the due diligence, so they still lost the pre-orders, okay? May 19th comes, May 20th comes, no book. May 21st comes, no book. And so there's all these discussions on Reddit, in the reader group, in a side group. They're like, oh, any side groups that are having conversations, this is hate speech. All these other things happening. And I had like comment on a post. I'm like, it's okay if you don't have information, like, but you should keep your readers, you should keep them aware of what's going on. And it doesn't take much to say, even if like this is a no update saying that you don't know anything, but we want to know because you have made promises that you have repeatedly failed to deliver. So the 21st comes, they're like, we're still waiting on Amazon, we have no update. And then the next day on May 21st, I think, it says, sorry everyone, there's not a lot we can report at this stage. It seems we are being made to play the waiting game. Please know we share your frustrations. There is nothing we want more than for this book to be out in the world. And now the KDP warriors in the chat were like going on Amazon chat, making KDP accounts to figure out what the process is for KDP. And KDP is Kindle Direct Publishing, which is what you do when you're self-publishing through Amazon. So the people found out that with KDP, with live publishing, once you upload the file, it will go live in 3 to 10 days. Well, guess what? On May 22nd, 3 days later, the book goes live. So clearly they uploaded it on the 19th, and it was 3 days later when it was through processing or whatever, and it was out. And also in that time, you know, people are saying, oh, you know, making all these excuses for Team Jay Bree, and they are honestly the least professional team of indie people I've ever seen in my life. They're making all these excuses. I'm so sorry this is happening to you. You're saying it's an Amazon glitch. Let's say it is an Amazon glitch. Let's say it is. Amazon didn't stop you from doing any promo in the month before your release. Amazon didn't stop you from sending ARCs out. Amazon didn't stop you from making an update on your Instagram or on your website to let people know what the issues were and when they could expect the book. Amazon isn't responsible for any of that. Okay? And then after the book goes live, first of all, the girls are saying there are so many typos and so many errors in the book. I'm gonna just pop a couple of them on the screen. And it's given that the book wasn't edited properly, or maybe that it was rushed. I have not read the book myself, and after this update I will no longer be speaking about Jay Bree, reading Jay Bree, promoting Jay Bree, anything, because the professionalism, the lack of professionalism is just too much for me, and I can spend my money and my free promotion and do it elsewhere with authors that are more deserving, because this is a business. Like, you're an indie author, sure, but this is a business, and there's a level of professionalism that you expect between a consumer and a business, and I don't think that was there. And also I feel like there's just a bare minimum level of respect that I think that you should have for your readers that Team Jay Bree didn't have. So it took them a day even after the book was live to then post that the book was live, which is crazy to me, because you would think that y'all would be, the second that people are noticing that it's going live, y'all would be telling people so that people can actually read the book that they've been asking you about. Okay? So then yesterday, which was May 23rd, Team Jay Bree makes an announcement, and I'm going to show you how unprofessional this is. Like, it's crazy. So they make a slide that says announcement. They put some of the announcement in the caption, and the rest they put it in the comments. Why wouldn't you type it out and put it on multiple slides in a carousel if you were going to do that? That doesn't even make sense. But let's read it out. First, we want to give a huge thank you to everyone who participated in the release of The Throne of Honor and Blood. This is our first live release and not a planned one, so it really has been an experience to say the least. We truly appreciate all the support we have received during this stressful time. The past few days have made us think about how we would handle future releases and how we are best to communicate with readers. The JB Reading Group and newsletter have always been our main ways of releasing information. As the JB readership and followers across various platforms have continued to increase, we realize that there are many other avenues in which to reach readers. We have taken feedback on board from readers on these platforms. Keep in mind now that I said there are 17,000 readers in the group. I don't know how many people are on the newsletter, and she has 40,000 followers on Instagram. Okay, when the book was coming out, this and that, you were posting on Instagram. So why, when the book wasn't coming out, wasn't being promoted, why weren't you saying it on Instagram? Keeping in mind, popping up again, the screenshots of her last 3 releases that were all pushed back, and turns out at least 5 of her releases haven't pushed back. And you're like, oh, maybe she's a new author. JB has published 24 books through KDP. 24 prior to this one. 24. So she knows how it works. Okay? Let's keep going. Continue in the comments, which really doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to try and read them in order. Also, it's important to note that Jay Bree's business manager and her personal assistant, neither of them are like professionals and like this is their career. They were readers that she connected with that have joined her team or whatever. And I think that that shows very much in the professionalism or lack thereof in their responses and the way that they've treated their readers. I'm looking on Instagram because I'm getting all this on Instagram, but people have commented since then, so it's hard to find. But let me go to the screenshots that I took of this. So 57, 56, 55. Okay, so it says the past 12 months have been huge for Team J. Bree. We attended 5 signings across the UK, Australia, and the US, meeting face-to-face for the first time ever at Rare Melbourne. We have built a new website, correlated PR boxes, commissioned artworks and exclusive edition covers, held beautiful book box editions in our hands for the first time when they were brought to us at signings, and met some amazing authors, vendors, creators, event coordinators, and readers along the way. The goal for 23-24 was to meet as many readers as possible and for Jay to sign as many books as they want to bring. First of all, my first problem is I hate that Team J. Bree makes it very clear when they are writing these responses that it's not Jay. That's a whole problem for another day. I have literally worked at the White House and was responding to correspondence from Barack Obama himself. And I made it seem like it was Barack Obama responding. So I really don't understand the disconnect there when you create this, especially as an indie author, when you create this distance between you and your readers. Because the thing is, this is J. Bree author Instagram. These are J. Bree's books. This is J. Bree's business. So when you make it very clear that Jay is not the one responding to her situations or being in front of her business, because at the end of the day, she's the one who's gonna succeed or fail based on these things that happen. That's a whole nother conversation, but we're gonna keep going. As an indie author team, we are very driven by our absolute passion for all things books, and we all want what is best for J. Bree's readers, and we constantly strive to be able to offer a great experience that makes everyone feel like they are part of something unique. What is considered being part of something may look very different from one reader to the next. Some want beautiful books to display on their shelves or to have access to exclusive editions and artwork. Some value interaction with other readers and the team within the reader group or the anticipation of a new release. All this is bullshit, by the way. That's just my opinion. We want every reader to feel valued because you truly are amazing. If you wanted every reader to feel valued, you wouldn't delay a book release and not make a statement about it until the day of the release. If you wanted readers to feel valued, you wouldn't delay a book release and still have a scheduled event in a city or country that you don't live in and have people flying out and this and that. You wouldn't do that to the bookstore, a business that's partnering with you, and then the day of you're not producing the books and getting them to sales. You wouldn't do that. If you really cared about your readers and their experiences, you wouldn't make them seem like they're bullying or harassing you when they're literally asking, where's the book, where's an update, like we want to, what's going on. Mind you, these are pre-orders, so some people have KU and so they're paying for the subscription and you're getting paid per page read, and some people are just buying the ebook. Either way, these are people who are paying you and funding your career, and this is not showing respect to them. Or if it is, I don't ever want to be respected like this. Next comment, which this is so stupid. This is just goes to show how ill prepared they are. Like, you are making a statement and an update, and you are putting the statement and update in the comments of the post rather than putting it on the screen in the post. While we would like to respond to all comments and give instant updates, as a team of 3 who are spread across the globe, it is not always possible. That is a decision that y'all made. They don't have nothing to do with nothing. The internet works in Australia the same way that it works in America. So, anyway. We have said before in previous communications that we are 3 moms from around the world on different time zones. What does being a mom have to do with anything? What does it have to do with anything? This is a business. This is your job. Being a mom does not stop you from making an Instagram update. Being a mom does not stop you from... Yeah, so my memory card was full, but like I said, none of that has anything to do with anything. And then it says, no one in the team ever makes a statement, comment, or update without the whole team being aware and agreeing that we are giving out the right information. Okay. This has proven time and time again to be the best way for our team to function. There have been many instances where one of us has wanted to react to an upsetting comment, or one of us being informed about something we wanted to share, or misinformed about something that we wanted to share. Having the system in place is a safeguard for us. That has more to do with you being immature than the system of like checks and balances. But at the end of the day, this is Jay Bree's name on these books, and I don't think all 3 of y'all have to touch and agree to say the book isn't out. We should tell people that it's not out, and we're working and doing our best to get it in your hands as quickly as possible. We're sorry for the delay. Like, 3 don't have to touch and agree to say that, but even if they do, it shouldn't take a day and a half to make that happen. Okay. Jay Bree is an indie author. There is no fallback guy or big corporation involved. Okay, and there are so many indie authors who are doing this and putting out more than 1 book a year and are much more professional about it. There's so many indie authors who are communicative, and even if they have PAs and managers, whatever, they make it seem like they are the ones interacting with their readers. There are so many other indie authors, so many indie books coming out every day, every week, every year that are promoting their releases and being held accountable. The thing about being an indie author, you make your own deadlines. So if you didn't think the book was going to be ready, the book wasn't ready, then you have the power to choose the release date. Keeping in mind, the book was actually supposed to come out late 2023, but that's neither here nor there. If you decided that on March 22nd you were going to change the title because of the negative connotation, and you knew that in the book the main character was part of a genocide, you knew then that you wanted to do another sensitivity edit. So you had weeks and weeks to make an announcement, and you waited until Amazon did it, and still to the date of, to make that known to your readers. Keep it going, keep reading. Everything from emails and comments to merch, artworks, printing, exclusives, event planning, cover design, and so much more goes through this small team of 3. We understand when things don't go to plan, it is in valid reaction to want information as quickly as possible. It is not always in our best interest or yours for us to update everyone with whatever information we knew at the time. This is not rocket science or brain surgery or anything of relative importance. Like, the world isn't gonna stop spinning. Like, if you knew the day of that the book wasn't out and you don't know why, that's the same information you knew the next day when you decided to make the announcement, or on Tuesday in Australia, which was 2 days later. Whose best interest was it to not update a day and a half when you had already not updated until the day of that your book wasn't coming out and was going to be delayed a month? You would think these repeated lapses in communication and the lack of accountability would inspire you to do better, and not double down on that and saying that everyone asking for updates or making comments or whatever is harassing and bullying and hate speech. But that's very caring of them. That I'm not surprised. It's very much weaponizing white women's tears, all of that. It's a whole other story for a whole other day. We are interacting with a large number of people who all have their own opinions, values, expectations. So the information from us always come with, we have all the facts in front of us. The facts are, the book wasn't ready. The facts were, you decided to do another edit. The facts were, you didn't upload it in time. And you decided, instead to be honest with the facts, you decided to lie. And they were saying it's an Amazon glitch. But later on in this update, they're going to say, we don't want to make enemies of anyone in this industry, including Amazon. Okay. As a team, we learn and grow from every experience. This release has been no different. In saying this, it is also our preference as to what information we do share. We would never share any information that would be detrimental to our relationships within the industry, including Amazon. But the thing is, clearly none of these people have PR training or social media training or anything like that, because there's a million no updates. we're doing our best to assess the situation and find out where the errors have happened. We're unsure of when the release will happen, but as soon as we know, we will let you all know. Thank you so much for your patience and being so excited to read Rook and Soren's story. We can't wait to have you in our hands. In that time, I could have been like, okay, I'm gonna post the first 3 chapters on my website. Oh, we're gonna do giveaways every day until the book goes live, 1 book a day, for readers who want to have physical copies in their home. Like, we're gonna be posting art, we're gonna be posting quotes, we're gonna be doing, like, there's so much you could have done that they chose not to do. So anyway, I said all that to say, if you want to wear the Jaybird situation, and honestly, I haven't gone over everything, I really haven't, but if you want to wear it, now you're aware. So I will no longer be reading, recommending, mentioning Jaybird ever again. I think that there are much better authors to read from, and not even from a craft perspective, but authors who treat their readers with more respect and more consideration than Jaybird and her team have done thus far. So I said all that to say, I'm replacing The Throne of Honor and Blood with another book. So recently I subscribed to Fairyloot's romantasy book box, and the May book was A Curse of Blood and Wolves by Melissa McTiernan. This isn't a book that I had heard of before, and honestly, when I found out about it, I wasn't really that intrigued, partially because it's werewolves and I don't find that very interesting these days, and also because it has such a low rating. Like right now it has a 3.29, I think, on Goodreads, which is extremely low, and I am like 60% in, and I see why. So in this one, we're following our 2 main characters. We follow Rafe, who is the werewolf, and we follow Ruby, who is this like human woman. First and foremost, since when were werewolves almost immortal? Why is he 200 plus years old still looking like he's 30? I don't know. But Ruby, being the goth girl that she is, she wears all black and she only wears red lipstick, and she takes a shortcut through the forest. This is also supposed to be a Little Red Riding Hood retelling, and other than her wearing red lipstick and him being a wolf, I really don't see the comparisons, but what do I know? She walks through the woods and she feels this presence following her, and this presence is our other main character, Rafe. And so she starts to interact with him. She's like, come out, I'm not afraid of you, whatever. And he just feels drawn to her, and so they start spending time together, because when he's walking her home, another wolf tries to attack her, and so he is staying at her house and walking her to work and things like that to try and keep her safe, because the wolves in this world like have always hunted humans and felt like humans were prey, and he is living like life as a lone wolf. And Ruby's sister has an issue that she has these like moments where she is not in touch with reality, and she just keeps uttering the same like phrases and things like that, and so he thinks that she is like another type of supernatural being, and they're trying to get to the bottom of it. It's very insta love, and there's little to no character development so far, so I'm not really loving that. This isn't a book that I would recommend at this point. I know it's the first book in this series. I already can say that I won't be continuing on with reading this, but I'm gonna see it through. I'm gonna finish it so we can wrap this vlog up. What can I say about it? It's not very steamy so far. Like, we've had it's just been a lot of growling and like tension and like, you know, but we're trying to get to the bottom of like what's going on with these wolves. But this very much doesn't read like romantasy. This reads like a contemporary romance, like, because the only magical element really thus far seems to be the werewolves, and it's not like, I wouldn't pick this for a romantasy book box, but whatever. I'm gonna go ahead and finish it up. It's not that long. It's a very quick read. It's very simple. Like, I saw a review that said it's like a 7th grade reading level, and I would agree. But I'm gonna finish this up, and I'm gonna give you my final thoughts, and then we'll be done. Hello friends, it is like 2:30 in the morning, so if I'm not my most coherent, please excuse me, but I was determined to finish this book tonight. So I have finished A Curse of Blood and Wolves, and what an awful book. Like, I'm not rating books this year unless they're 5 stars, but this is very much and very easily a 1-star read. Like, I do not recommend this book in the slightest. Like, I don't have a single good thing to say about it, okay? So let's go through Call Pile because I want to try and organize my thoughts as best I can. Characters. Rafe and Ruby are both very two-dimensional characters, very flat. Ruby is this goth girl and she's an outcast because her parents died young, okay? But that doesn't track fully because she's an outcast because her parents died young, but her sister is super popular even though they had the same parents that died young. Anyway, and she wears all black and wears red lipstick and she's a bartender. That's kind of all she has for her character. And also she is somewhat of a caretaker to her sister who has these visions and doesn't work or whatever. And honestly, I'm really not a fan of the sister dynamic in this book because she is taking it upon herself to take care of the sister, and for time unknown the sister just hasn't worked, and the girl is just working as a bartender, working for tips and like taking care of both of them. And at no point does the sister ever try and work, and it's just like she's doing anything. It's like she's not contributing to the household at all. She doesn't cook, she doesn't clean, she's an invalid. But she's not an invalid, she doesn't do anything. But when the main character's having this romance, she's doing other things. The sister, like, when she finds out what's going on with her and the werewolf, she almost like kicks them out of the house. Like, I don't need babysitting. Literally, yes you do. Literally, yes you do. Rafe is just, oh, he's hundreds of years old and he's damaged by his past and he needs to stay away from humans because he can't control himself, and wolves are just so bad and they shouldn't interact with humans. And that's just the thing that was put into his mind by his abusive father, and that's just all he's gonna do. Even though he's following this girl home in the woods every night, even though he's staying at her house every night, even if he's sleeping in her bed every night, he still gotta stay away from humans. Because 100 years ago he dated this human girl and his dad, who is dead now, killed the girl. Okay. The atmosphere, there was none. 0 out of 10. There literally was not any atmosphere. Like, this very much, like, this is fantasy romance in the same way that Bride by Ellie Hayes was fantasy romance. If you read Bride, you know that it's basically like everything about it is contemporary. They just happen to be werewolves and vampires, but like we don't really get into the werewolf vampire of it all. They just are these things. Okay, writing. I saw a review that said this was like 7th grade reading level writing, and I concur. This was so simple and so basic and just so, it doesn't read like a book. I don't know how to describe it. Like, the writing just reads like casual conversation. Like there's this one line, like I took some screenshots because I was like, what is going on? I don't understand. So there's this one line, or this one like instance where it's like, knee-high to a grasshopper. When you were a pup, she practically squealed. This place is amazing. Gertie is amazing. Picturing you as a pup, amazing. What? First of all, why was amazing used 3 times in 3 sentences? Like, and then there's another like line, and these are just random examples, but it's just, the writing is not very elevated. It's not very mature. Like, first of all, the writing is almost like young YA. Like, it's very simple, it's very easy to digest. I guess it's a pro to some, but it's still not well written. There's another thing that's like, he kept a hand behind her head holding her close, and another on her ass holding her closer. And it's just, the writing just feels very elementary. I think that's what I'm looking for. It feels very elementary. Plot, other than the romance, there is this plot that just comes in and comes out sometimes, where for reasons unknown there are these other wolves, perhaps from Canada, that are coming over the border and are coming around Ruby and her house, and we don't know why, and we think it has something to do with like these things that the sister is having, but that Ruby also has had in the past, and we're not really sure. And that comes in and out of the story at will. And even in the ending, it leaves like, on the way the series is, from what I've read like about the second book, is going to be following a different couple, but like the little plot bits that were introduced, they really went nowhere. They really went nowhere. Like, these other wolves, I guess, were supposed to be antagonistic, but the wolves are just wolves. They never, even though they are werewolves, they never become into their human selves. We never actually interact with them and talk with them. We don't know what they're doing, what they want. Like the whole thing with Lena and her sister and the wolves, like it's never actually resolved. And then in like the last 100 pages, we like introduce his family members and the interactions. Like they were almost, their father forced them to like fight to the death and this and that. And even still, their interactions feel very cookie cutter. Like, you know how boxers, when they're before the match and like in a promo, they like get really close to each other and they're like, "Rrr." It was very much like that. Like it was so unserious. Intrigue there was none. I had to force myself through this book because I already DNF'd another book for this video, and this is already a replacement book. I'm just like, I gotta finish it. I want to get it out of the way. Like I said, there was no intrigue at all. I could have stopped reading this book at any moment and I would have been happy. This book has a 3.29 on Goodreads, and honestly that is too high. It is very earned, it is very deserved. It is not a book that you should pick up, and if you just have to pick it up, please get it from the library. Also, the nerve of this publisher, not on my edition but on like the regular edition, I'll pop like a cover in right here. It has 4 chili peppers. Like, first of all, I think that is so cringy for the cover of the book to have a chili pepper rating. That's the first thing. Second, 4 chili peppers where? 4 chili peppers where? Not in this book. Logic, 0 out of 10. There was no logic. It didn't make sense. Their interactions, enjoyment, 0. I hated it. Horrible. Do not recommend. Awful, awful book. I am gonna take this makeup off and I want to go to sleep, and I am gonna wrap up this vlog tomorrow. Yeah, bye. Hello friends, and welcome to the end of the vlog. So we have reached the end of the road, and first and foremost I just want to say I know that this isn't my best vlog, so I want to apologize if the vibes weren't great, but I've been having a really tough time recently and I'm just doing my best, and I really just wanted to get a vlog out because I know that some of you really enjoy my vlogs, and I hope that even just a little bit of time you spent watching this, you were able to have fun and just have some company while you're doing whatever you're doing. I'm hoping to get back into vlogging more regularly soon. I have a couple of things that I've been working on, but I talk about it in like the casual like weekly vlog that I'm filming. But yeah, I've been really just going through it. So, and on top of that, this necessarily wasn't the best group of books to begin with, unfortunately. But like I said, I do hope you had a good time. I thought we would end on ranking the books starting from the worst to the best. So at the bottom we're gonna have Lore of the Wilds. Like, I couldn't even finish this, so I feel like it is naturally the lowest tier. Next up we have A Curse of Blood and Wolves. This is a really bad showing for the fairyloot romantasy box. We've got a DNF and a 1-star essentially, and this has like a 3.4 on Goodreads, and this one has a 3.2. I really hope they step it up. Next up I would say Heartless Hunter, and then Fate and Furies and The Veiled Kingdom takes the top spot. So this is my ranking. I would recommend these, well, I would definitely recommend these two. I think that if this sounds good, check it out. It's not a favorite of mine, but I do think that if the synopsis sounds interesting, it is fun. But yeah, this is the end of the road for this romantasy vlog. Checking out and seeing if these like 2024 fantasy romantasy releases are worth your time. I do think that these 3 are worth your time. I really think this is the Legend of Thesmar is a really good series, and this is just so much fun and so addictive. This is my first Holly Renee, and it definitely will not be my last. So if you made it to the end of this video, let's leave a butterfly emoji for Heartless Hunter. I know it's a moth, but there isn't a moth emoji, I don't think, so let's just leave a butterfly, and I'll see you in my next one. Also, if you have any fantasy romance or romantasy recs that you like, or just ones you want me to read and like be the guinea pig for you, leave them them down in the comments, because I really have been in my like romantasy era, because like I said, I had so much going on that I don't have like the brain capacity to read like really epic, really dense, really difficult fantasy. And so I've been having a lot of fun with romantasy recently. So if you have anything you want me to try, leave it down in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye.